The faint glow of the streetlight spilled through the curtains as I turned the key in the lock, the quiet hum of the neighborhood feeling unusually loud. My shift had ended early, but something pulled me home before the clock approved my freedom. I've always trusted my gut, it's a cop thing. And tonight, it churned with an unease I couldn't explain. Inside, the air felt heavy, charged, like the stillness before a storm. Our house wasn't a mansion, but Miranda and I had turned it into a home. Photos of us smiling on vacations, her bright eyes on our wedding day, and the tiny tchotchkes we'd collected over a decade of marriage dotted the shelves. Yet, tonight, it all felt staged. A set for a life I thought I was living. I didn't see her right away. The living room was empty except for the wine glasses on the coffee table, their rims smudged with lipstick, red, her favorite. My heart sank. 2 glasses. But it wasn't until I heard the faint murmur of voices upstairs that I felt the ground shift beneath me. Climbing the stairs felt like walking into a fire. Every creak of the steps mocked me, each one screaming, "You know what's up there." The bedroom door was slightly ajar, and through the crack, I saw shadows dancing on the wall. Her voice, the one I'd loved for years, floated out, sultry and conspiratorial. "You're such a bad influence," she giggled, a sound I hadn't heard directed at me in months. I didn't need to hear his reply to know. That low timbre, too confident and too familiar, was enough. My fist clenched, nails biting into my palm as my brain fought to process what my eyes had already confirmed. Miranda, my wife, my everything, was lying in our bed, tangled in sheets with a man I didn't recognize but instantly hated. I didn't kick the door in like the hothead they paint in movies. I stepped back, bile rising in my throat, my vision blurred with tears of rage and humiliation. My training screamed at me to stay calm, assess, but how could I? That wasn't a case file in there. That was my life. I left the house before I could shatter the moment. Outside, the cold air hit me like a slap, but it did little to extinguish the fire roaring inside me. I got into my car, gripping the wheel so hard it felt like it might snap. Thoughts ran wild. How long had this been going on? Why didn't I see it? Who the hell was he? For hours, I drove aimlessly, replaying every fight we'd had, every time she'd dismissed me or been too tired. The pieces started to fit together, a grotesque puzzle of lies and deceit. I'd been so blind, so trusting, and now, everything was falling apart. By the time I returned, it was late. The house was dark and eerily silent. I sat in the driveway, staring at the front door, unsure if I wanted to walk in and face her or drive away and never look back. But I needed answers. No, I deserved them. Steeling myself, I entered. Miranda was sitting on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, her expression a mixture of surprise and annoyance. "You're back early," she said, her voice far too casual. I stared at her, trying to see the woman I'd married, but all I could see was a stranger wearing her skin. Who was he? My voice came out colder than I intended. Her eyes widened briefly before narrowing. "What are you talking about? Don't play dumb, Miranda. I heard you. I saw you." There was a flicker of panic, but she quickly masked it with indignation. "You're being ridiculous. Maybe you misheard something." My chest tightened. Misheard? I had a gift for sniffing out lies, it was part of my job. And Miranda's feigned innocence stank worse than a 3-day-old corpse. "Do you think I'm stupid?" There were 2 glasses downstairs, lipstick on both. His voice. "You're giggling." Her lips pressed into a thin line. "So now I can't have a friend over?" "A friend? In our bed?" She stood, her blanket dropping to the floor, and in that moment, I saw it. Not remorse, not guilt, but defiance. "Maybe if you weren't always working, I wouldn't need someone to talk to." My fists trembled. "You think this is my fault?" I'm not saying that, she snapped, then added under her breath, but you're not exactly innocent in this. My heart broke, shards cutting deep. How could she twist this, make me the villain? But before I could respond, she turned on her heel and stormed upstairs, slamming the bedroom door behind her. I stood there, the silence pressing in. My entire world had just collapsed, and the person I thought I'd spend my life with had walked away like it was just another argument. That was the night I knew everything was about to change. Forever. I stood in the living room long after Miranda slammed the bedroom door. Her words echoed in my head, a relentless hammer pounding on the foundation of my sanity. Maybe if you weren't always working. Was this her excuse? Her justification for tearing our life apart? I glanced at the wine glasses on the table. The faint lipstick smudges glared at me like damning fingerprints. Gripping one, I turned it slowly, the weight of betrayal settling deeper into my chest. I was trained to notice details, and now, that curse became my companion as I combed through our home with a new set of eyes. The scent of cologne, not mine, lingered faintly in the air, mingling with Miranda's vanilla perfume. A cardigan was draped over the armchair, one I didn't recognize. It wasn't her style, too masculine, too cheap. My stomach churned. Every little clue was a slap to my face, each discovery pulling me further into the nightmare I was now living. I paced the house for hours, restless and consumed by thoughts I couldn't control. Was this a one-time thing? A fling? Or something worse, an ongoing affair that had been parading under my nose while I was too busy working late nights, trusting her, and planning for a future that no longer existed. The next morning, I confronted Miranda again, this time armed with more composure, and more evidence. She was sitting at the kitchen table, scrolling through her phone, sipping coffee like nothing had happened. The sight enraged me. How could she act so casual, so unaffected, when I felt like I'd been gutted? Who is he? I asked, standing over her. She didn't look up. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't play this game with me, Miranda. I found his sweater. His cologne. I heard you last night. Don't insult me by pretending I'm imagining things. Her head snapped up, and her eyes flashed with irritation rather than guilt. You're obsessed. You've been working these murder cases so long that you think everything's some big conspiracy. For God's sake, you're paranoid. I clenched my fists, fighting the urge to flip the table. You know what's funny? You're not even denying it. Not once have you said it didn't happen. She rolled her eyes, a dismissive gesture that only fueled my fury. You're being dramatic, Adam. Fine, you want the truth? I had a friend over. We talked. That's it. But your mind always jumps to the worst conclusion. Her tone dripped with contempt, as if I were the problem. My jaw tightened. She was a master at twisting the narrative, turning my accusations into overreactions. But I wasn't buying it. Not this time. Do you think I'm blind, Miranda? Or stupid? Do you think I don't notice how you've been distant, how you barely look at me anymore? Do you think I didn't hear you laughing with him, or see the way you've been sneaking around? She sighed heavily, slamming her phone on the table. You're impossible, Adam. Do you want me to say I cheated? Fine. I cheated. Are you happy now? Her admission knocked the wind out of me, though I'd been bracing for it. Hearing it aloud was different, like a bullet to the chest. How long? I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. She shrugged, like it didn't matter. Does it even matter? You've been absent for months. Maybe I needed someone who actually paid attention to me. Her words cut deeper than I thought possible. So, it's my fault? No, she said, glaring. It's our fault. You buried yourself in your job and left me alone. I didn't plan for this to happen, but here we are. Who is he? I demanded again, stepping closer. Does it really matter? She shot back, her voice rising. Would knowing his name change anything? You've already made up your mind about me. I wanted to shake her, to make her understand the devastation she'd caused, but instead, I turned and walked out. I couldn't stand to be near her anymore. My hands trembled as I gripped my keys, the anger and heartbreak bubbling dangerously close to the surface. I drove to the station, my sanctuary. The quiet hum of the precinct was a stark contrast to the chaos in my head. My partner, Dave, noticed something was off immediately. "You look like hell," he said, offering me a coffee. "Rough night," I muttered, avoiding his eyes. "Anything I can help with?" I shook my head, though I knew he'd push. He was good at reading people, part of what made him a great cop. But this wasn't a case he could help me solve. This was personal. Too personal. As I sat at my desk, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number popped up. "She won't tell you who I am, but I will. Meet me tonight. 8 p.m. The old gas station on Route 17. You deserve the truth." My pulse quickened. Was this him? The man who had stolen my wife? The audacity made my blood boil, but curiosity won. I needed answers. And if this was the only way to get them, so be it. That night, I parked a block away from the gas station and approached on foot. The flickering neon sign cast eerie shadows across the cracked pavement. A figure stood near the pumps, smoking a cigarette, his silhouette cocky and unbothered. He didn't look like much, tall, wary, with a smug expression that made me want to knock his teeth in. "You must be Adam," he said, tossing the cigarette aside. "And you must be the bastard who ruined my marriage," I shot back. He smirked, unbothered by my anger. "Listen, man," Miranda came to me. "She said you weren't enough. That was it." I lunged at him, fists flying before I could stop myself. Years of training told me to hold back, but in that moment, I didn't care. I wanted him to hurt like I did. By the time I left, he was bloodied and barely standing, his smirk replaced with fear. But instead of satisfaction, I felt hollow. I drove away from the gas station with my knuckles throbbing, the sting of split skin grounding me in reality. The bastard's words echoed in my head, as poisonous as they were true. Miranda had gone to him. She'd looked at this smug lowlife and decided he was worth shattering everything we'd built. But as much as I hated him, the blame lay squarely with her. Pulling into the driveway, I killed the engine and sat in the suffocating silence of the car. I didn't want to walk into that house and see her, smell her perfume, or hear her lies. I needed clarity, not more poison. But clarity felt impossible when your entire life was a crime scene. I reached for my phone and scrolled through her social media, something I'd never done before. Miranda had always been private, claiming she hated oversharing. But now, her carefully curated posts felt like propaganda for a life I didn't recognize. She smiled in every picture, the perfect wife. In hindsight, it all felt like a cover for her deceit. Then, I noticed something, a comment from a man named Ethan White. I didn't recognize the name, but the playful banter in his replies sent alarm bells ringing. Digging deeper, I found more. He'd liked almost every post for the past year. He commented on her photos in subtle ways, just enough to stay under the radar but not enough to be innocent. I cross-referenced his profile, my cop instincts kicking in. Ethan worked in finance, had a flashy smile, and posted endless gym selfies. Typical douchebag. His most recent post, however, chilled me, a picture of Miranda, taken at some dimly lit bar. The caption read, "When life gives you second chances, you don't waste them." The timestamp was last night. The front door creaked as I stepped inside. Miranda was waiting in the kitchen, her arms crossed, her expression a mix of annoyance and feigned concern. You've been out all night, she said, as if she had the right to demand answers. Care to explain? I stared at her, my exhaustion battling the anger simmering just beneath the surface. Do you know someone named Ethan White? Her face didn't change. She was good, I'd give her that, but not good enough. A slight twitch in her left eyebrow told me everything I needed to know. Why are you asking? She said, her voice measured but defensive. I saw his picture of you. At a bar. Last night. For a moment, silence hung between us, thick and suffocating. Then she laughed, a cold, sharp sound that sent a chill down my spine. You've been stalking me now? That's pathetic, Adam. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. You don't get to twist this around. You've been lying to me, sneaking around with him. How long has this been going on? She threw her hands up, exasperated. Does it matter? You already made me the villain, so why don't you just play judge, jury, and executioner? Isn't that what you're good at? Her flippancy was like gasoline on a fire. Stop acting like this is my fault, Miranda. You destroyed this marriage. You threw it all away for him. For what? A few cheap thrills? Her face darkened. You want the truth, Adam? Fine. Ethan made me feel alive, something you haven't done in years. You're so obsessed with your job, your cases, that you forgot I existed. So yes, I went looking for someone who didn't make me feel invisible. My breath hitched, the knife twisting deeper. And you didn't think to talk to me about it? To fix what was broken? Her response was venomous. You can't fix something that's already dead. The words landed like a fatal blow. For a moment, I felt hollow, as if she'd sucked the last ounce of fight out of me. But then, something snapped. My grief turned cold, sharp, a weapon I intended to wield. You don't love him, I said, my voice calm now. You're just bored. And stupid enough to think he's your escape. But let me tell you something, Miranda, guys like Ethan don't stick around. They use you, chew you up, and toss you aside. You're nothing more than a game to him. Her jaw clenched, but she didn't respond. I saw a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes, a crack in her armor. Good. That night, I couldn't sleep. The house felt foreign, haunted by memories of what it used to be. At 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Meet me tomorrow. Same place. You'll want to hear this. It had to be Ethan again. I didn't reply, but I knew I'd go. I needed to see this through, no matter how much it hurt. The next evening, I arrived at the gas station earlier this time, parking where I could see the entire lot. Ethan pulled up in his sleek black car, the headlights cutting through the dark. He stepped out, wearing a cocky grin that made my blood boil all over again. Glad you came, he said, lighting a cigarette. There's something you need to know about Miranda. I crossed my arms, glaring. I'm not here for games, Ethan. He exhaled a cloud of smoke, his grin fading. It's not a game, man. Look, she didn't tell me she was married at first. I found out later. But by then, let's just say she had other secrets too. What the hell are you talking about? She's not who you think she is, he said, lowering his voice. She's been lying to both of us. The weight of his words hit me like a freight train. I wanted to punch him again, but the fear in his eyes stopped me. He wasn't smirking anymore. What kind of secrets? I demanded. He hesitated, then leaned in, his voice barely a whisper. I think she's been setting us both up. I'm not sure why, but I can't shake the feeling that she's playing a bigger game. My head spun. Lies stacked on lies, a house of cards teetering on the edge of collapse. Suddenly, the image of Miranda shifted in my mind, from a selfish cheat to something far more dangerous. And for the first time, I wondered, was I even the target? Ethan's words hung in the air like smoke, choking out any coherent thought. Miranda wasn't just cheating, according to this man, she was playing a far more sinister game. I stared at him, trying to decipher whether this was another lie, another layer of deceit to manipulate me. His expression, however, was different now. The cocky smirk was gone, replaced by something closer to fear. "What the hell are you talking about?" I asked again, this time through gritted teeth. Ethan glanced around, as though expecting someone to leap out of the shadows. He lowered his voice. "Look, I didn't want to come here. I've got nothing to gain from this. But after last night, I started piecing things together. Miranda isn't what she seems. Then what is she?" My patience was gone. "Stop speaking in riddles." He leaned closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "She's been manipulating us both. I don't know how deep it goes, but she's hiding something big. Financial stuff, maybe. Or worse." The mention of finances made my stomach churn. Miranda had always handled our bills. She insisted on it, claiming I was too busy with work to worry about the mundane details of life. Was there more to it than convenience? Was she funneling money somewhere I didn't know about? "I don't believe you," I snapped, though doubt had already crept in. "Why would she set you up? What's the angle?" Ethan exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. "I thought it was just an affair too, at first. But then she started asking me for favors. Big ones. Transfers, signing things under my name. She's persuasive." He paused, gauging my reaction. When I said nothing, he continued. "Last week, she asked me to help her get into some kind of safe deposit box. Told me it was her late father's or something. But the way she talked about it, it didn't add up." My jaw tightened. Miranda's father had been dead for years, and he'd left nothing behind but debt. The safe deposit box was news to me. Every word Ethan spoke added another crack to the fragile foundation of trust I'd built with my wife. I thought I'd hit rock bottom before, but now it felt like there was no end to this fall. When I got home, Miranda was sitting in the living room, scrolling through her phone like nothing had changed. Seeing her there, so calm, so collected, made my blood boil. I wanted to confront her, to throw Ethan's accusations in her face, but I held back. Not yet. First, I needed to know the truth. I grabbed a beer from the fridge and sat across from her, forcing my tone to stay casual. "Busy day?" She glanced up, her smile tight. "Just catching up on emails." "You?" "Same old," I lied. "Do you remember that trip to Florida we took last year? The one where your dad's old lawyer called?" Her face froze for a millisecond before she recovered. "Sure. Why?" "He mentioned some safe deposit box, didn't he? Said it was yours now?" Her eyes flickered with something, panic? Annoyance? It was hard to tell. "Oh, that. Yeah, but it's nothing important. Just some old papers." "Why?" I shrugged, keeping my voice even. "No reason. Just crossed my mind." She studied me for a moment, then went back to her phone. The way she dismissed the topic so quickly only deepened my suspicions. I decided I couldn't wait any longer. If Miranda was hiding something, I needed to find it. Tonight. After she went to bed, I began my search. Her laptop was password protected, of course, but her phone? She'd never changed her passcode, it was still my badge number, a detail that now felt like mockery. Unlocking it, I scrolled through her messages, her emails, her banking app. And there it was. A recent transaction to a storage facility in the next town over. A payment large enough to suggest she wasn't renting a unit to store old clothes. My heart raced as I scrolled further, finding more payments, each linked to names I didn't recognize. This wasn't just an affair, this was something bigger. I copied down the address and left the house, the quiet hum of the night amplifying the chaos in my mind. The storage facility was a 20-minute drive, but I made it in 15, the urgency coursing through me like adrenaline. The place was deserted, save for a single flickering light by the entrance. I found her unit easily enough. It was listed under her maiden name, another slap in the face. The lock was a standard one, and I used my tools to snap it open with practiced ease. Inside, the musty smell of dust and neglect hit me, but my attention was drawn to the large safe in the corner. I crouched down, studying it. The digital lock looked expensive, but there was a backup keyhole, an oversight I could exploit. It took me 15 minutes to crack it, and when the door swung open, my blood ran cold. Inside was cash. Stacks of it. Bundles wrapped in rubber bands, far more than I'd ever thought Miranda had access to. But that wasn't all. There were documents, 2 bank statements, legal papers, and a passport with her picture on it but under a different name. And then, at the bottom of the safe, I found something that made my blood turn to ice, a handgun. Clean, polished, and unregistered. As I drove home, the pieces started falling into place. The money. The lies. The weapon. Miranda wasn't just cheating on me, she was preparing for something. Was she planning to run? Or worse, was I the target of her schemes? When I pulled into the driveway, I noticed something odd. The living room light was on, but the curtains were drawn tight. I stepped out of the car cautiously, my senses on high alert. As I entered, I saw Miranda sitting on the couch, her expression cold, calculating. "You've been busy," she said, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. So, she knew. But how much? And more importantly, what was she willing to do to protect her secrets? For the first time in my life, I wasn't sure I'd make it out of my own house alive. Miranda's voice was calm, almost eerily so. Her legs were crossed, her posture unnervingly composed, as though she'd been waiting for me to come home and walk straight into her trap. She wasn't the flustered woman from earlier, scrambling for excuses. She was something colder, sharper, a stranger. "You want to tell me where you've been?" she asked, her tone casual, but her eyes sharp as razors. I closed the door behind me, leaning against it, trying to mask the pounding of my heart. "Just went for a drive," I said evenly. "Needed to clear my head." Her lips curled into a humorless smile. "That's funny. Because I'm pretty sure you cleared out more than that." She knew. Somehow, she knew about the storage unit, the safe, the money. Maybe she'd set a trap, knowing I'd go snooping. Maybe this was her way of testing how much I'd figured out. I decided to test her back. "So, what's in the safe, Miranda?" "You know, the one with the cash, the fake passport, and the gun." Her expression didn't change, but I noticed a slight shift in her breathing. "That's none of your business," she said, her voice clipped. "None of my business?" I repeated, my voice rising. "We've been married for 10 years, and you've been hiding a damn arsenal of lies. Fake identities, hidden money, what the hell are you planning?" She stood, slowly, her movements deliberate, like a predator circling its prey. "What I do with my life is my decision. You don't own me, Adam." "Own you?" I barked out a bitter laugh. "I'm not talking about ownership, Miranda. I'm talking about trust, respect, the things you've clearly never had for me. Did you even love me, or was this all part of some twisted scheme?" Her eyes narrowed, the mask slipping just enough for me to see the contempt beneath. "Love you? You're a cop, Adam. You think that's love? Coming home late every night, smelling like crime scenes and whiskey? You think that's the life I wanted?" I took a step closer, fists clenched. "Don't you dare twist this around. This isn't about my job. This is about you lying to my face while you built a whole second life behind my back. Her gaze didn't waver. Maybe I had to. Maybe I was tired of waiting for you to see me. Tired of being stuck in your shadow. The venom in her words stung, but I didn't back down. So what now? You run off with your boyfriend, take the money, and leave me to clean up the mess. Or were you planning to make me disappear? For the first time, she hesitated. A flicker of something, fear, maybe, crossed her face, but it was gone in an instant. You're paranoid, she said flatly. And if you don't stop, you're going to ruin everything. Ruin what? I snapped. Your little escape plan. You're happily ever after with Ethan? Her jaw tightened, and her voice dropped to a low, dangerous tone. You think Ethan's the only one? You think this is just about him? The weight of her words hit me like a freight train. There was more. Much more. And she wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. She wanted me to know, wanted me to feel the full extent of her betrayal. I felt my blood run cold. How many, Miranda? How many men have there been? Her laugh was bitter, devoid of humor. Enough to know you'll never understand. Something inside me snapped. I slammed my hand on the table, the sound echoing through the room. What the hell does that mean? But before she could answer, there was a knock at the door. 3 sharp raps that shattered the tension like glass. Miranda's expression changed instantly, her mask slipping back into place. She looked calm. Too calm. Expecting someone? I asked, my voice laced with suspicion. She didn't answer. Instead, she walked to the door and opened it without hesitation. Standing on the porch was a man I'd never seen before. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and dressed in a sharp black suit that screamed trouble. His eyes scanned the room, landing on me for a moment before shifting to Miranda. You called me, he said simply, his voice low and authoritative. I need you to handle something, Miranda replied, her tone smooth and businesslike. He's become a problem. It took me a moment to realize what was happening. This wasn't just some stranger. This was an accomplice, someone she'd brought into our home to handle me. The man stepped inside, closing the door behind him. This can go 2 ways, he said, addressing me directly. You walk away, and we all forget this ever happened. Or. I didn't let him finish. My instincts kicked in, and I lunged at him, grabbing a chair and swinging it with all the force I could muster. The wood splintered against his arm, but it gave me enough time to back up, pulling the gun I'd taken from the safe out of my jacket. Back off! I shouted, pointing the weapon at him. The man froze, his hands raised slightly. Miranda, however, didn't flinch. She looked at me, her expression cold and unyielding. Do you even know what you're doing, Adam? She said softly. You're out of your league. Shut up. I barked, my voice shaking. You brought this into our home. You turned our life into this mess. She smiled then, a chilling, hollow smile. Our life? That's where you're wrong, Adam. This was never our life. It was always mine. The words hit harder than any punch. My grip on the gun tightened, my mind racing. How had I been so blind? How had I let this happen? But before I could respond, the man lunged, knocking the gun from my hands. It skidded across the floor, coming to rest near Miranda's feet. For a moment, everything was still. Then Miranda bent down, picked up the weapon, and aimed it at me. You should have stayed out of it, she said coldly. And just like that, the wife I thought I knew disappeared forever. The cold barrel of the gun gleamed under the dim light, its presence sharp and undeniable. Miranda's hand was steady, her grip firm, no hesitation, no remorse. She looked at me as though I were nothing more than an obstacle in her path, not the man she'd once vowed to love forever. "Miranda," I said, my voice calm despite the adrenaline flooding my veins. "You don't want to do this. Don't I?" She replied, her tone icy. "You're the one who's been poking around where you don't belong, Adam. I warned you." "Warned me about what? That you're a liar? A thief? A murderer in the making?" I took a cautious step forward, watching her eyes narrow. "Stay where you are," she snapped, the gun following my every move. "You've already ruined enough. You should have just let it go." "Let what go?" I demanded, my anger bubbling to the surface. "Your affair? Your secrets? Your damn storage locker full of cash and lies? Or is there something worse you're hiding?" The man in the suit, now nursing his injured arm, chuckled darkly. "You really don't get it, do you?" he muttered. "This isn't just about you, pal. You're a loose end, and loose ends get tied up." My gaze flicked to him, then back to Miranda. "That's what this is, isn't it? You've been planning this for a while. The money, the passport, the gun, you were never planning to stay." She didn't deny it. Instead, she smirked, a cruel expression that twisted the face I once loved. "You always thought you were so smart, Adam. But this time? You're out of your depth." My mind raced. I needed to stall, to buy myself time, but Miranda's cold demeanor made it clear she wasn't bluffing. She had crossed a line, and there was no turning back. But neither had I. With slow, deliberate movements, I raised my hands. "All right," I said, my voice steady. "You've got the gun. You're in control. So tell me, Miranda, what's the endgame here? Are you really going to kill me?" "Don't test me," she said sharply, though a flicker of uncertainty flashed across her face. It was brief, but I saw it. She wasn't as in control as she wanted me to believe. The man in the suit, still standing by the door, spoke up again. "He's not worth the trouble. Let me handle it." Miranda hesitated, her grip on the gun tightening. For the first time, I saw her mask crack. Her confidence wavered, and for a split second, I saw something that looked like regret. But it vanished as quickly as it appeared. "No," she said, her voice firm. "I'll handle this." She took a step closer, the gun now mere feet from my chest. My pulse thundered in my ears, but I forced myself to hold her gaze. "Miranda," I said softly, "think about this. You shoot me, and it's over. There's no coming back from that. Do you really want to be a killer?" Her expression hardened, but her hand trembled ever so slightly. "You don't get to lecture me," she hissed. "You're the one who pushed me to this. You and your damn job, your obsession with control." "This isn't about me," I said, my voice rising. "This is about you, Miranda. You made these choices. You lied, you cheated, and now you're standing there with a gun, ready to throw everything away. Don't pin this on me." Her lips pressed into a thin line, and for a moment, I thought she might actually pull the trigger. But then, the man in the suit took a step forward, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. "Enough," he said. "This is getting us nowhere. If you can't do it, I will." The distraction was all I needed. In one swift motion, I lunged for Miranda, grabbing her wrist and twisting the gun away from me. She cried out, but I didn't let go, wrestling the weapon from her grasp. The man in the suit moved toward us, but I swung the gun around, aiming it squarely at his chest. "Don't even think about it," I snarled. He froze, his hands raised in mock surrender. "All right, take it easy." Miranda stumbled back, clutching her wrist, her eyes wide with a mix of anger and fear. "You don't know what you're doing, Adam," she spat. "Maybe not," I admitted, keeping the gun trained on the man. "But I'm done playing your games." I grabbed my phone from my pocket, dialing the one number I knew I could trust, my partner, Dave. "Adam?" He answered groggily. "It's late. What's going on?" "I need backup," I said, my voice steady despite the chaos around me. "I've got 2 suspects here, one armed and dangerous. I'm at my house. Send units now." "Suspects?" he repeated, suddenly alert. "Adam, are you okay?" "I will be," I said, glancing at Miranda. "Just hurry." I ended the call and turned my attention back to the pair in front of me. Miranda's defiance had returned, her fear replaced by a cold glare. "You think this is over?" she said, her voice venomous. "You have no idea what you've started." "Maybe not," I replied. "But I know one thing, you're not getting away with it." The distant sound of sirens cut through the night, growing louder with every passing second. Miranda's composure faltered, and for the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. "This isn't the end," she said, her voice shaking. "You'll regret this." "Maybe," I said, my grip on the gun tightening. "But at least I'll still have my soul." Minutes later, the house was swarming with officers. Dave approached me, his expression a mix of concern and disbelief. "Adam, what the hell happened here?" I handed him the gun, my hands shaking now that the adrenaline had worn off. "It's a long story," I said, glancing at Miranda as she was cuffed and led away. "But it's over. Finally. Or at least, I thought it was." Because as they loaded her into the patrol car, she shot me one last look, a look that promised this was far from finished. The house felt emptier than ever after Miranda was taken away. The echoes of her venomous words, the weight of her betrayal, and the chaos of the last few days clung to every corner. My partner, Dave, stood in the living room, surveying the damage while I slumped onto the couch, exhausted and numb. "You've got a hell of a mess here, Adam," Dave said, his tone a mix of disbelief and concern. I rubbed my face, the adrenaline finally wearing off, leaving only a gnawing hollowness in its wake. "You don't say." Dave sighed, sitting on the arm of a chair across from me. "Look, I've seen plenty of messy divorces, but this? This is something else. A gun? A partner in crime? What the hell was she even planning?" I shook my head. "I don't know. She had cash, fake IDs, and a storage unit full of secrets. I think she was planning to disappear, but there's more to it. I can feel it." Dave gave me a look. "You're not thinking of digging into this, are you? Let the department handle it." "You're too close, Adam." "Too close." That was an understatement. My entire world had been turned upside down, and the woman I thought I knew better than anyone had turned out to be a stranger. Still, Dave had a point. My emotions were raw, and I wasn't thinking straight. But something inside me refused to let it go. "I'll try," I lied, knowing full well I wouldn't. The next day, I went to the station to give my statement. It felt surreal, sitting in the interrogation room, the same one I'd used countless times, with Dave on the other side of the table, asking me questions like I was a suspect. I told him everything: the affair, the safe, the confrontation, the man in the suit. I didn't hold back, even though reliving it felt like ripping open fresh wounds. When I finished, Dave leaned back in his chair, his expression grim. "This is going to take a while to untangle, Adam. The fake IDs, the cash, it's not just infidelity. She's been into something big. And dangerous. Do you think she's tied to a larger operation?" I asked, my voice low. "It's possible," Dave said, nodding. "We'll look into it. But you need to stay out of it. Let us do our job." I nodded, but as soon as I left the station, I knew I couldn't just let it go. Miranda wasn't just tangled up in something shady, she'd brought it into my life, into our life. If she had accomplices, if there was a larger game at play, I needed to know. Not just for closure, but for survival. That night, I started digging. Miranda's phone was still in evidence, but I had already copied her recent contacts and messages onto my personal drive. I sifted through them, looking for patterns, connections, anything that would give me a clue about what she'd been up to. One name kept popping up, James Harper. He wasn't listed in her saved contacts, but his number showed up repeatedly in her call logs and messages, always around the same time she'd been meeting with Ethan. I ran the name through our database, but it came up clean, too clean. If James Harper existed, he wasn't using his real identity. I tried calling the number. It rang 3 times before going to voicemail, the automated message giving me nothing useful. Frustrated, I hung up and stared at the screen. If Harper was involved with Miranda, he might be the key to uncovering what she'd been planning. 2 days later, I got a call from Dave. His tone was serious, the kind of voice he used when delivering bad news. "We found something," he said. "It's about Miranda." I tensed. "What is it?" "We pulled her financial records and traced some of the transactions from her storage unit. Turns out, she's been wiring money to offshore accounts for months. A lot of money. How much are we talking? Hundreds of thousands. Maybe more. We're still combing through everything." My stomach churned. Miranda had always handled our finances, claiming she was better with numbers. I'd trusted her completely, and now it looked like she'd been funneling money away, planning her escape right under my nose. "There's more," Dave continued. "We ran a deeper background check on the guy she was with, the one at your house. His real name is Marcus Fields. He's a known associate of a criminal syndicate that specializes in money laundering and identity fraud." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. "And you think Miranda was working with him?" "It looks that way," Dave said. "But here's the kicker, she wasn't just working with them. She was leading them. Or at least a part of their operation." The words didn't register at first. Miranda, my wife, leading a criminal operation? It sounded absurd, impossible. But as I thought about the cash, the fake IDs, and the gun, the puzzle pieces started to fit together. "Adam," Dave said, his voice cautious. "You need to be careful. If she's this deep into it, there's no telling how far it goes. Or who else is involved." That night, I barely slept. I kept replaying everything in my head, the lies, the confrontations, the hidden money. Miranda had fooled me completely, but now I realized she hadn't been hiding from me, she'd been hiding from everyone. By morning, I made a decision. I couldn't just sit back and let the department handle this. Miranda's betrayal was personal, but it was also dangerous. If she was connected to a syndicate, she wasn't just a threat to me, she was a threat to everyone around her. I started my search with the only lead I had, James Harper. His number wasn't just a dead end, it was a breadcrumb. I contacted a few informants I trusted, feeding them small details about Harper, hoping for a bite. It took 3 days before I got a hit. Harper was connected to a property on the outskirts of town, a remote warehouse with no listed owner. The address gave me a bad feeling, but I knew I couldn't ignore it. As I parked a block away from the warehouse, the dark, silent building loomed ahead like a monument to everything Miranda had kept hidden. My heart pounded as I approached, the weight of my weapon heavy on my hip. I wasn't sure what I'd find inside, but I knew one thing for certain, Miranda's secrets weren't done unraveling. And neither was I. The warehouse was shrouded in darkness, its towering structure foreboding against the faint glow of the moon. Every instinct in me screamed to call for backup, but this wasn't about protocol anymore, this was personal. Whatever Miranda had hidden here, it was the final piece of the puzzle. I slipped through the side entrance, the door creaking on rusty hinges. The air inside was thick with dust and oil, the faint hum of machinery in the background. The shadows seemed alive, shifting as I moved, my footsteps muffled by the concrete floor. Ahead, a faint light spilled from a room at the far end of the warehouse. I drew my weapon, my grip steady, and approached slowly, my heart hammering in my chest. As I neared, voices became audible, low, tense murmurs that sent a chill down my spine. I edged closer, pressing myself against the wall outside the room. Peering in, I saw them, Miranda, standing tall and composed, and a man I recognized instantly from the file. James Harper. He was older than I expected, his suit immaculate despite the grime of the warehouse. Between them was a table stacked with cash, documents, and what looked like hard drives. "We're almost done," Harper was saying, his voice smooth but commanding. "The accounts are secure. The identities are ready. By tomorrow, you'll disappear." Miranda nodded, her face calm, almost serene. "Good. I've had enough of this town, and him." The venom in her voice made my stomach churn. I stepped into the doorway, my gun raised. "Not so fast." Both their heads snapped toward me. Harper's expression darkened, while Miranda's surprise quickly morphed into something else, cold amusement. "Adam," she said, her tone mocking. "Always the hero." "Put your hands up," I ordered, my voice firm. Harper raised his hands slowly, his expression calculating. Miranda, on the other hand, took a step closer, her hands resting casually at her sides. She wasn't afraid, not even a little. "What are you going to do, Adam?" she asked, her voice dripping with disdain. "Arrest me? Kill me? Do you even know why you're here?" "I know enough," I snapped. "The money, the fake identities, the syndicate, you've been running this operation from the start. You've been lying to me, stealing, betraying everyone around you." Her laugh was sharp and cold. "You think this is betrayal? No, Adam. This is survival. Do you have any idea what it's like to live in your shadow? To be invisible while you play the noble cop, working late nights, leaving me to rot? I built this because I had to. Because you gave me nothing. You had everything," I shot back. "A life, a marriage, a partner who loved you." "Loved me?" Her eyes flashed with contempt. "You loved your job. You loved control. And now look at you. Standing there, playing the martyr, while you ruin everything I've built." I felt my chest tighten, the weight of her words suffocating. But I couldn't let her win. "It's over, Miranda. Whatever you were planning, it ends here." She shook her head, a small, almost pitying smile playing on her lips. "Oh, Adam. You still don't get it." Before I could react, she moved. Her hand darted to the table, grabbing a small pistol I hadn't seen beneath the stack of papers. I fired instinctively, the shot ringing out in the confined space. Miranda cried out, the gun clattering to the floor as she clutched her shoulder, blood seeping between her fingers. Harper lunged toward me, but I spun, delivering a hard blow to his face with the butt of my gun. He crumpled to the floor, unconscious. My attention snapped back to Miranda, who was now on her knees, glaring at me with a mixture of pain and fury. "You really don't have it in you," she hissed, her voice trembling. "You'll always be too soft." I approached cautiously, keeping my gun trained on her. "This ends now, Miranda. Tell me everything, or so help me." "Or what?" She spat, blood staining her lips. "You'll shoot me? Finish the job? You're no killer, Adam." Her words stung because they were true. I wasn't a killer, but I also wasn't the man she thought I was. I knelt down, grabbing the pistol she'd dropped and tossing it across the room. "You're going to prison for a long time," I said, my voice steady. "And you'll have plenty of time to think about what you've done." She laughed weakly, a hollow sound that echoed through the warehouse. "Prison? You really think I'll rot in a cell? You have no idea who you're dealing with. They'll come for me. And when they do, I'll walk free. And you? You'll be nothing. Her words sent a shiver down my spine, but I didn't let it show. We'll see about that. By the time backup arrived, Harper was still unconscious, and Miranda had gone pale from the blood loss. Paramedics rushed in, followed by officers who swarmed the scene, securing the evidence. Dave approached me, his face grim. You okay? I nodded, though I wasn't sure if I was telling the truth. It's over. Dave looked at Miranda as she was loaded onto a stretcher, her glare still fixed on me. With people like her? It's never really over. In the weeks that followed, Miranda was charged with multiple counts of fraud, conspiracy, and attempted murder. Harper, when he finally woke up, sang like a canary, exposing the full extent of their operation. It was bigger than I'd imagined, a web of deceit that spanned cities, countries even. I went back to work, though it wasn't the same. The betrayal, the lies, they haunted me, but they also taught me something. Trust is fragile, and love, when corrupted, can be as dangerous as any weapon. As for Miranda, she was right about one thing. People like her don't rot in prison. 2 months into her sentence, she escaped during a prison transfer. No leads, no trace, just gone. And though I tried to move on, I could never quite shake the feeling that one day, I'd see her again. And when I did, I knew it wouldn't be over.